So as we start to watch the unboxing here, I want to preface that just because this product comes in a huge box does not mean it's a huge project. This is actually going to be pretty fairly simple. I want to go over everything that comes in the package for you guys and show you really how simple this is to install. You actually get the giant sunshade, which takes up most of the room of the box, but you also get this tiny little blue baggie, which has a few different parts in it. You get some electrical tape, you get the screws you're going to need to mount it everywhere. You get some white gloves for that white glove treatment. That's cool. Another pry tool if you don't have 1,000 of these laying around your house. Now you get another one. You get a couple little brackets here, which actually have some nice felt lining on them, so they're not going to scratch any of your roof glass or anything like that. These are what actually goes between your roof liner and your roof glass, and then you're going to screw the sunshade right into here. I'll show you how all this goes soon, but that's kind of what these two front brackets are for. These are going to go up by the front of your car. You also get a little wiring harness. This derives power from your rear 12-volt socket in the back of your Model Y. So you don't actually have to have a plug coming down and plugging into that 12-volt socket. You get a little jumper cable, which I love. We'll get that installed here soon too. You get a couple different screwdrivers. I think they're both Phillips head, so I'm not sure why you need two, but you get two Phillips screwdrivers just in case you have small or large hands. You get a little felt strip, which I'll show you exactly where this goes, but this just helps cover up some of the hardware, so it looks like a more completed install. So I'll show you where that goes to. Tesstudio includes an awesome instruction manual with pictures of actually how to install this, which we're going to find really useful here shortly. And then you actually get a voice instructions guide. That's right, this sunshade is actually voice controlled. So there's a couple voice prompts. You can tell it to close, you can tell it to open or stop, any of that with just your voice if you don't want to use the push button. So honestly, that's not a lot of stuff that comes with this package. I think the hardest thing is going to be positioning this inside the car, but I'm going to do it all by myself. I'll walk you guys through the entire step-by-step process, and we'll get into it right now. So the first thing we're going to do to start our install is actually plug in the power harness so we can get some power up to the sunshade. All of it's going to come from this 12-volt socket that's down here in the back of your Model Y. To route the wire up there, we're going to have to remove this little bit of weather stripping. So I'm going to go ahead and start just pulling it off, and it's going to be super easy to put back on, so no worries there. There is a little bit of glue, so you might get your hands a little bit dirty, but you'll be just fine. So we're going to kind of take it all the way off the top and expose it down here so I can get down into this little flap down back under here to plug in my wiring harness. So I'm going to reach in and unplug that little wiring harness. There's a little kind of latch on the top of it. Just reach in and unplug it. And then I get it out. And that's all you need. We're going to take the wiring harness from the actual plug that came with our kit here and just going to splice it in there. That's really all there is to it. Easy wiring. So plug the actual end that fits on there right on there. And we're going to plug this end back into the actual 12-volt socket that I pulled it out of in the beginning. So we have everything plugged in down on this side. Next, I'm going to run the wire up right along the weather stripping, and eventually it's going to go through and underneath this actual headliner piece right here so it can plug into the sunshade. So I'm just going to run it right along up in here where I pulled that headliner off, or that trim piece off. And I'm going to start putting my trim weather stripping right back over where I took it off. And just like that, you got it all kind of reinstalled, and you actually have the port right coming out right here, which is easily going to go through and attach to our sunshade. So the next step after running the wire, we have power coming up to the front there, is really installing the actual sunshade. So I'm going to come in from the rear here and see if I can kind of finagle it in there by myself and see how it all goes to get it kind of in position to run the wire through the headliner this way. So I got it inside, and right now I just have it resting on the actual back headrest and kind of the front headrest. So it's not too hard to do yourself. I want to bring you around back to this side and show you what we're going to do next. So right up in here is your motor and your components. These two little clips, this one and that one, and I think there's one over on the left side. Those are going to go up right, between your glass and your headliner. So we're going to do that next. But also right here is the wire that we're going to unclip, and this is what's going to pull through this headliner right towards me, and we're going to plug it in over here. So I'm going to run it through there next. So we have the wire loose. I need to run it through this headliner here where it's going to all tuck up nice and neat along the weather stripping and over into my plug here that went down to my 12-volt socket. If you have any sort of like fish tape or any sort of like plastic pole, that'll really help accomplish this task. I got this fish tape out of a TV mounting install kit that I had for the walls to pull, electrical wires through the wall, but it's going to work perfect here. So I'm going to show you how to do this next. So what you want to do is just pull down your headliner a little bit. You'll see there's kind of, it's held in by clips, as is most things on the Tesla, but then you actually just want to kind of fish your actual fish tape through. And I'm just kind of pushing it through here. I'm hitting the camera a little bit. And I'm going on the other side and just pushing it through until I can feel it come out the other side. So showing you what it looks like on this side quick, I got the wire tape to my little fish tape coming through the headliner. And all I'm going to do is back out, come over to this side, and we should just be able to pull on this and just fish it right on back through. So let's see if we can easily just pull it the rest of the way through. Just giving it little tiny pressure, pulling it nice and slow. We don't want that wire to cause any damage, and get enough so you have enough to plug it in over there, and that's plenty for me. So perfect. After getting the wire through, we're just going to move it over to this way, plug it into the power cord we already ran down to the 12-volt outlet. Only goes one way. You get a nice satisfying click. Then we're just going to tuck this up into the headliner where it's never going to be seen again. We'll have a nice clean install. Just move that all out of the way, reinstall our weather stripping over our headliner. Make sure those clips are reinstalled up there. Perfect, clean installation. I know you're looking at this down here saying, what the heck is that? That's actually the sunshade. So the next thing we're going to do is go ahead and install that rear part with those clips I showed you earlier, and I'll show you how to install the front part, and we're about done. So now that we have the wires run through the headliner and plugged in, we're actually going to start putting this into its position, the actual frame into its position. So it has these 3 hooks on the back, which I showed you. So I'm just going to take this and carefully move it up into position and just position those 3 hooks up between the roof glass and the actual headliner itself. And just kind of start moving it into position. And just kind of make sure it hooks on those areas and kind of just start getting it in there. That's really all you have to do in the back. It's super simple. It just clips up in there. The real magic happens up in the front with those little black brackets that I showed you earlier. So once you get that, let's head up to the front and we're going to start buttoning this up. So while I have the sunshade down, I want to demonstrate what I'm actually going to be doing before I have to kind of move the camera and try to get a shot of this. It's going to be tricky. But I'm actually going to take these little black brackets with the felt lined on top, and those are going to slip up right here between my glass and my headliner. And I'm actually aiming for this little hole right here. This is going to come right there, and that's where I'm going to be putting the screw, right between those 2 areas to attach this bracket to my headliner, which I'm going to place up in there first. So pretty simple process. Let's go ahead and get it started. So after you get those 2 screws installed, this is kind of what it looks like. You have those brackets up there that fit between your glass and your headliner, and you just screwed it to the actual frame here on the sunshade. It's nice and sturdy. It's really not going anywhere. So looks great. So the final step, hopefully you guys can see it on camera, is really using this included felt strip and just putting it over this bracket here, just so you don't see the reflection when you're driving around, and no one in your back seat can see it either. But we're just going to peel off the backing and kind of work this in so it sits right on top of that kind of chrome piece there. And it really just makes it a nice clean finished look.